Hi guys, welcome back to our next mini video on early European colonization. The objective for this video is to be able to identify the countries that colonized, where the colonies were located, why they colonized, and any interactions with Native Americans. Our first group is going to be the Spanish. They are the main European country that is going to colonize in the New World. They're going to do it first. If you take a look at the text over here to the left, it kind of explains it a little bit. What's going to happen is upon the return of Columbus in the earlier 1500s, there are going to be stories told of gold that is available in the New World. And this is going to prompt people called conquistadors to come to the New World and try to claim glory for their country and for themselves, while in the process finding some of that gold. Okay, and so glory is their first goal, gold is their second goal. And so guys like Hernando Cortez is going to come in and they're going to conquer the Aztecs. Francisco Pizarro is going to come in and conquer the groups like the Inca in South America. And to do this, they're going to use a variety of new weaponry and advanced techniques. Now, on their journey to the New World, they're going to bring along with them missionaries like Bartolome de las Casas, and he is going to try to spread the Christian faith. And so we have three G's, we call them, in terms of why the Spanish were coming. One was to gain glory for the country and for the conquistador by claiming land. Two was gold. And three was God. And so the three G's, often referred to in Spanish exploration and colonization, as glory, gold, and God. Now, one of the main reasons why the Spanish were able to overtake the civilizations of the Aztec and Inca, despite having much less men, or many less men than them, were very simply because of their advanced technology. The Spanish came and they had horses, guns, and armor, just to name a few items, while the Native Americans were fighting back with spears and bows and arrows and clubs. And so this is obviously an advantage for the Spanish because they had like fighting techniques and weapons that were just so far advanced from what the Native Americans had. In addition to that, disease was an issue. The Europeans were bringing over disease like flu and measles and smallpox, and the Native Americans up until this point had never been in contact with that. So they had no immunity to this, which is ultimately going to decimate the population. Now, when you have flu and you don't feel like doing anything, much less fighting, and your people are dying, and then you're fighting an opponent that has better technology than you, chances are you're probably going to lose. In addition to that, people like Montezuma, the leader of the Aztecs, actually believing in an old legend, religious legend, said that fair-skinned people or white-skinned people from the east would eventually come and rule over them. And so Montezuma actually was welcoming in the Spanish, and that turned out to be not a very good idea. Now, what eventually Spain turns into, in Spain, if you take a look at the map over to the right here, is all this area in Florida, the southern United States, here in Mexico, and then all the way down into South America. What ends up happening is the Spanish start to colonize that area in a social class system develops where you have a top that is ruled by a group, if you take a look at the chart over here to the right, called the Peninsulares, that are very small in number. There's not a lot of Peninsulares or people that were born in Spain, but they felt that they were the most Spanish located. And so they are going to. And so what you have here is a social class system where the most powerful people are the Peninsulares, or people born in Spain. And then ultimately at the bottom you have Native Americans and eventually people from Africa that make up the bottom. And they're on the bottom because the Spanish saw themselves as better, their religion was better, their knowledge, their intelligence, everything about them they felt was better, racism, if you will. And so they stuck Native Americans at the bottom, they enslaved them, and forced them to work in mines and on plantations. The relationship between the Spanish and Native Americans was not very good. And so, again, just to recap New Spain, we'll go over it more in depth in class, but you have the conquistadors Cortez and Pizarro coming for glory and gold. You have guys like Bartolome de las Casas, who's a missionary coming to spread faith. The Spanish are successful because of their technology. And then once they settle in, again, they're looking for gold, cash crop, plantation farming, and they're going to use and abuse the Native Americans to do that. Our next country is New France. New France is going to start with developments along the St. Lawrence River by a guy named Samuel de Champlain in the early 1600s. The primary goal of the French is to seek out natural resources, specifically beaver fur. And so what they're looking for here is a way to make money. Now, if you look at the map over to the right, they're going to start by exploring down the St. Lawrence River, and you'll see cities like Quebec and Montreal. These are some of the first cities of New France. And then as they continue to move down and look for beaver fur in these regions where there's a lot of rivers and lakes where beaver like to live, eventually you connect here with the Mississippi River, and all the way down here to the Gulf of Mexico goes the colony of New France. Now, in the process of doing this, you have two different reasons why they're here. Number one is in the lower right-hand corner. They're here to spread the faith. Here you see a monk or a priest teaching the Christian faith to the Native Americans. They thought that teaching the faith to the Native Americans was one way to help them out. A secondary place where they were looking to exploit in the New World was that in terms of money. Over here is a picture of what we call a coureur de bois. And the coureur de bois' job was to get in there, get beaver fur, make an alliance with the Native American people so that they can trade goods. Europeans will bring finished products, pots, pans, and etc., things that the Native Americans didn't have. The Europeans would bring to them, and in response, the Native Americans would help the Europeans by helping them trap for fur, and then eventually make some money out of that fur. The idea here is that the relationship between the Native Americans and the French was somewhat peaceful, more peaceful than that of the Spanish, because they're willing to work together. The Spanish were here to settle. They wanted the gold. They were plantation farming. The French are different. The French are here just to get their resources with no intent really to stay at first. And so they wanted to come, get the resources, and go home. A little bit of a different relationship. But this is New France. You have Samuel de Champlain settling along the St. Lawrence River in the 1600s. Eventually, New Spain spreads out through the Great Lakes all the way down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. With the motivating factors being, make some money by trading fur and to spread the Christian faith. And to do that, that means that they have a nice solid relationship to start with the Native Americans. They make some alliances, and it's more of a partnership than one group telling the other group what to do. Our last group is New Amsterdam. This is the Dutch. New Amsterdam is going to start in the early 1600s with the guy called Peter Minuit. Peter Minuit is going to settle in this area called Manhattan Island. It's said that he bought Manhattan Island for the Native Americans for about $24. He's down here. If you take a look down here, this is Peter Minuit making a purchase of Manhattan Island. Supposedly, this is the artist's rendition. And Manhattan Island, if you don't know, is this island where New York City is created, and it's right at the end of, and part of, the end of Long Island, which everybody might know. And so it's where New York City currently is. Now, the Dutch are here to form alliances with the Native Americans. They want to trade to make money, and so they also want the beaver fur. And so they're going to start trading weapons for beaver fur, and the relationship with the Native Americans is actually pretty good. Now, the colony of New Amsterdam, not going to last very long, only till about the 1660s, when eventually the British take over. But initially, that area that we know as New York City now was started by the Dutch, and it was originally called New Amsterdam. Again, the purpose to make money, and the relationship with the Native Americans quite positive to get started. Now, those are your three groups. You have the French, the Spanish, and the Dutch. And what I would like you to do to finish up your notes and make sure you get these into me on Thursday is to tell me, how are the colonies the same? What are some of the things that they do that are similar? And then number two, how are the colonies different? You can have similarities and differences with neighboring colonies, and I want you to just give me a fresh response. Folks, I apologize for not getting these up sooner, but good luck. Hopefully you got your notes down and they come in on Thursday or whenever they're due. And make sure, please, that if you ever have any questions that you ask. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.